Hello everyone, my name is Jacob and today I'm back in World of Guns Gun Disassembly, and today we have a very cool firearm here and also a very different one at the same time. This is the M-134D minigun, the M-134, and it is a well-known machine gun. It is very unusual. I do not know of anything else in the firearms world, especially small arms. If this is considered a small arm, that would be similar to this. So basically, what we have here is a machine gun. It has multiple barrels, and it is sort of hybrid powered. So basically, it doesn't use the energy of the cartridges to power the action. Instead, it uses an electric motor. You can see the motor up here, and that's how the whole thing rotates. So basically, it uses the Gatling system, which was first developed for the famous Gatling machine gun, and that thing also had multiple rotating barrels, but that one was actually hand powered. It had a crank on the back or on the side, I think, and that was of course during the American Civil War, a very well known firearm. So this thing is a sort of a very modern take on that. Of course, these machine guns are famous for being in pretty much every film ever, and also being like mounted on helicopters and stuff like that. So very cool stuff. I do not know much or anything about the history of this gun, because this is definitely a military gun only. I'm not aware of many people that have these as civilians, and you can see the reasoning behind that, because this thing can lay down some serious destruction. Because it has 6 barrels, it can have a much higher rate of fire, because the barrels don't get as hot. So this thing really cranks out the ammo. It is chambered for 308 NATO cartridges, but I guess some others also. So let's take this thing apart and see what it's like inside. As I said, I have not a lot of idea about it. Okay, so there's a switch at the back. That's for like the main power probably. And then there's 2 thumb switches, as you can see there. Those are for firing. We've got some cables, obviously. So this thing would be powered externally from some sort of power source, I guess. Of course, it fires linked ammunition with the standard disintegrating links, I think. So pretty standard stuff. It has to be mounted though, because it is really heavy, and it has a lot of forces acting on it. So this thing definitely is for mounted purposes. Okay, so we're taking out removable track assemblies. Not sure what those are for, but I guess we are removing them, so that's the thing. I'm not exactly sure how the internal system works on this gun, but I guess we're gonna find out. Okay, so that's the rotor casing thing. Okay, and then we can take out the bolts. There is 6 bolts, but looks interesting. Okay, we're gonna take a look at them as well. So let's take a look at them. They've got very interesting shape. They're not round. They got the firing pins in them, and like the cam rollers on top. Not much else that I can see. I think the bottom parts are two large extractors, maybe, which would make sense because when the barrels get hot, they require more force to extract the cartridges. Alright, so here we go. We got the 6 bolts. That's pretty crazy. This thing's got like 172 parts altogether, which is not actually that terrible for a gun like this, I don't think. The question is how much I'm gonna struggle with it, because I have literally no idea how it works. Okay, so the control unit we can take out. This is basically like the electrical part. And then we've got the spade grip. That's pretty classic on machine guns, on mounted machine guns. And then we've got the motor up here. Let's call it. That's quite a large electric motor actually. And that's it. That's the field strip. Interesting. Okay, so basically it doesn't go into the operation of the gun pretty much at all, except for taking out the bolts. Interesting. Okay, so let's put the motor back on. This thing down here is a delinker, so basically it delinks all of the ammo and feeds it into the action, I think. It's pretty cool. Let's put the spade grip back on. Of course, this is all attached by screws because you won't be taking this apart in the field, that's for sure. Well, if it's mounted on like a vehicle of any type, you would just like service it with the vehicle, I guess. I'm not sure how it works in the army exactly, but I would assume that's probably how it is. Okay. Right, what else can we do here? There's some pins here. Okay. The linker housing does not go on yet, apparently. The bolts don't go on either. Oh, they do go in. Okay. So you need to rotate the barrels and just shove the bolts in their places. Interesting. I'm gonna be interested in the operation of this gun, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I'm even gonna take it apart completely. I think it's a little bit too much for me. The main part is that I find out how it actually works. Beyond that, I don't really have that much interest in taking it apart because it has a whole bunch of parts, and obviously it is a sort of a hybrid system, which I'm not terribly interested in. I'm more interested in purely mechanical stuff. But anyway, what goes together next? Why can't I put this delinker housing on there, for Christ's sake? We can't put... Oh, we can put these on. Okay. These are like basically to hold the bolts in place, I think. That's what they are. So that the bolts don't just fly out of the side there. How does it eject? Or where does it eject? Oh, down here probably. Oh no, this is... yeah, down here. So on the bottom, that's where it feeds, and then on the top there it ejects. Interesting stuff. So probably so it spins that way. Oh, does it eject right away? I don't think so. I think it goes one full circle before it ejects the spent case. But I guess we're gonna see how that works. Okay, so we close this thing, right? And then we got this thing. The D-linker goes on. It's got some stuff. Screw there and a pin. There we go. And then we have the power, but apparently not. What else are we missing? Oh, we have to plug in the things apparently. Okay. And right, and then we switch this thing on, and there we go. One reassembled minigun. Okay, let's take a look at the operation of this thing. Alright, so we can see the mount here. This is pretty good. So it's got this thing on the side is like a chute for spent brass basically, so it doesn't just dump it directly down. You could also attach like a hose to this, I think, and you would be able to like put the empty brass wherever you want it, because this thing actually makes a whole bunch of empty brass at once. So you want a place for that to go. This is the feed box basically, and the belt goes travels through this sort of flexible chute that you can see here that feeds it directly into the D-linker. That delinks it, and then this chute also gets rid of the links, the spent links, and then this delinker just shoves it into the action, I guess. You can see some of the cartridges on this side of the delinker, and then that's pretty much how it works. Let's take a little shoot. So fire. There you go. Nice. I just pressed it once. Crazy stuff. Alright, so this thing on the front is looks like a flash hider for 6 barrels, which is pretty cool. This thing has infinite ammo in this, obviously. That's how it works. You should really... Oh, there's the empty brass and the links with from the small pipe, as you can see. Just dumps that onto the ground, I guess, or in a special box. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's take a look inside and see how it works. So basically, I want... Jesus, that's a lot of cartridges in there. Okay, I want a cutaway. Do we have a cutaway? No. Okay, right. Let's take a look. So we have the bolts. As you can see, oh, this thing is probably open bolt, isn't it? Okay, so as you can see, some bolts are in battery and some are not. I'm not sure how they actually lock. That's a very good question, actually. Let's go for super slow motion and see how it actually works. Okay, so here you can see the bolts traveling, and the cartridges get into the action on the bottom. Okay, so it goes counterclockwise. As you can see, it is in fact open bolt, I think. Yep. Okay. It's nice. How does it lock? Does it even lock? It has to, right? Oh, it's like a rotating bolt. Look at this. The bolt rotates. You can see here. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a rotating bolt, and I guess it's got a cam on the top, which the rollers ride in. Okay. It just fires as soon as it closes, basically, so it doesn't have a separate hammer or anything. That's pretty cool. As you can see, the linker here has sort of like a sort of a cylinder of some description, and it sort of feeds the rounds into that from the belt. So basically the rounds get shoved into that, and then it's got this sort of bolt system on this side as well, which shoves them into the linker. That basically removes them from the links, as you can see, and then they get sort of fed into the path of the bolt, of the next bolt that comes, and that just feeds it. And on top, the spent cases are getting extracted and ejected, and they travel down this chute here together with the links, which are being funneled through this smaller pipe on the side, and they just dump on the ground. That's pretty much how it works. There's nothing up on the barrels. They're just 6 barrels connected to each other. There's a whole bunch of gears. That's about it. Very cool. Okay. Right. So let's take a look at the other X-rays. So here we've got like the tracks for the bolts, and some gears. That's the big gear around the barrels. That's for rotating the barrels. We've got another gear on the back. This one's for the delinker. Okay. It's just connected to the main thing. Alright, that's pretty cool. I still don't know how this thing works. It's still very complex, but not terrible actually. Pretty cool. Okay, let's take some more shots, shall we? Yes. Very cool. Okay, apparently we can have a scope on here as well, because currently it does not have any sighting system. So let's put a scope on there. Oh, it's just got a weird sort of rail. Okay, that is super weird looking. And then there's just like a red dot, like an EOTech there. That's pretty weird. But I guess you don't need much of a sight with this thing, because a red dot is fine, because obviously you pretty much look at where the bullets are hitting, because you're just shoving so much through those barrels that it doesn't really matter. You just look at the destruction on the other end, pretty much. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Apparently we didn't do slow-mo fire, even though we did. So I don't know how that's a thing, but there is a slow-mo fire. There's your links and cartridge cases. Pretty cool stuff. The fact that it operates on electricity makes it much simpler than it would have to be. Well, actually, I don't think it would even work without that. So I don't think it would be able to work with the energy from the ammo, because of the actual rotating barrels. That would be quite difficult to make. I guess it would work if every single barrel had a separate gas piston. Guess that would work, but that would be super complex, and this electricity thing is much simpler. It just requires one motor and some gears, and pretty much works. So much simpler. The downside is obviously that it needs an outside power source, but if you have a vehicle where this thing is mounted, it doesn't really matter at all. So anyway, I think I'm not gonna take it completely apart, because we've seen how it works, and I think that's probably enough for me. So anyway, a very cool sort of cannon slash machine gun, I don't know what to call it, very unique, very well known, the minigun. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, you can press the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my other videos, and I will see you next time.